Hi guys, welcome back to Decoupled with Cheryl. I didn't put out anything last week. I'm so sorry, but I'm back this week, okay? And I promise to bring you guys all the goodies today in this episode. All right, so one of the things that I do as a single parent is I do a lot of reading to stay, in the know. So I was reading a couple of weeks back and I came across this hilarious article. It was in Cosmopolitan and it was written by Isabel Calkins. You guys should go check it out. I think it was sometime in March, and she was talking about 5 things she wished she had known before dating a single parent. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about dating single parents 101. I'm going to be taking a lot from some of the examples that Isabel gave because, some of them for me were like, okay, yeah. And then for some, I was just having a very good laugh. She was really, really very open and honest about, what it was like for her. Now, key thing to note is when she dated a single parent, she was in her early 20s. So maybe some of the experiences that she had, some of the things that she had to do were a function of age. But guess what? I realized as a single parent myself that even when you're dealing with grown folk, there's some things that they just can't relate to. And that's okay. At the end of the day, it's not about whether the person that you meet is a single parent or not. For the most part, it's about whether they rock your world, whether they literally turn it upside down and inside out. They just make you happy. That's the first thing. And then when you settle down and that whole feeling and the butterfly sort of like now relax inside your tummy, then you now start to deal with everything else that there is. So I'm just going to be reading from what Isabel wrote, and then I'm going to be relating it to some of the experiences that I've had and a couple of friends of mine have had concerning some of the things that she mentioned. Okay? So yes, Isabel was in her 20s when she dated this single dad, and his name, we're just going to call him Eric, as she did in the article, because that was his real name. But yeah, he was everything she wanted and more. Handsome, intelligent, funny, passionate, and all of that. And then she went on to say, but like everything that seems too good to be true, the relationship with him was. And for her, the biggest catch was his ex-girlfriend, right? So they weren't together anymore, but she had just had a baby for him a few months before she and Eric met. So, as a 22-year-old, she probably figured out late in the game that it was maybe too much for her. But yeah, at the early stages, it didn't quite hit her, especially because she's always loved kids. And so it seemed like, yeah, what's there? No big deal. And then she goes, or so I thought. Now, a little bit of perspective here. According to Isabel, she grew up with single parents. And for her, at the initial stage, it was like, yeah, I mean, how difficult can it be? But then she went on to say that she had no idea just how complicated, exhausting, and stressful it was to raise a child, never minding attempting a relationship with someone who had a child, right? So she described her relationship with Eric as a rapid crash course in the ups and downs of dating a single parent. And so I think for a lot of people, that's the experience that most of them have. At the initial stage, you're with this person. I've had, guys who at the initial stage everything is all lovey-dovey, and then when things like time factors start to come in, how much time you get to spend with the single parent that you're dating, you realize you're not getting as much time as you would like because, of course, you're not the single parent's first priority. Now, this is whether you're dating a single dad or whether you're dating a single mom. So either way, so when all those little things start to come in and you find that you have to manage them, it ends up being a little too much for some people. All right. So I'm going to just read out the tips that Isabel gave for those of you who are looking at dating single parents. Okay. First of all, and I love this, she goes, put your jealousy in serious check. Now, this might sound, who could I possibly be jealous of? I'm all that, She sees me as this, or he sees me as that. You think you're the whole package. and everything, and you couldn't possibly be jealous of anyone when you're dating a single parent. But then guess what? Everybody has baggage. And sometimes that baggage, especially when you're dating a single parent, is the ex or the other parent, especially when you're dating a co-parent. I remember someone, a dear friend of mine, sent a message in one of the previous episodes talking about how she cannot possibly see herself dating a single parent. And this is the reason, or let me put it this way, she says she can't see herself dating a co-parent. And this is the reason why. Because as long as that person has a functional, active joint responsibility of raising a child with his ex, then sometimes lines are crossed. Let's say lines are crossed. Lines are blurred, not crossed. Lines are blurred. And so you find out, if you're in that position dating a single parent or someone who's co-parenting, that you tend to get jealous sometimes because the ex might have to come around. You have to, or rather the person you're dating, single parent you're dating, has to coordinate or plan trips with the child, because sometimes the child will require spending time with both his or her parents. So if you are not quite up to that, you find that you'll be getting jealous a lot of the time, and then it starts to cause a rift in the relationship that you're having, because you can't understand why. It just cannot make any type of sense to you why the person you're in a relationship with will be spending so much time with the ex. But then guess what? Sometimes it's inevitable with the single parent. So for those of you who are considering, answer that question and answer it honestly. Can you handle that? Can you handle that? And I mean, kudos to you if you can. Like, big ups to you. That's really, really mature. Because sometimes when these lines are blurred, trust me, it now moves from blurring to actual crossing of lines. Because who knows, maybe the ex is actually trying to get back with the person you're dating. So it's not easy, I know. But yeah, you have to find that jealousy will come to you quite quickly, and you need to be able to discern like what exactly is going on before you know how to act, and not end up losing your cool all the time, especially when you find out that there's nothing really going on except two people just co-parenting their child. It's a lot of work for some people. I know some of you are listening to me and going, nah, too much drama. I get it, but that's fine. All right, so another point that Isabel raises, something that she had to deal with, when she was dating Eric, was she had to be cool with not being top priority. Okay, most parents tell you that their kids always come first. Most parents. And that's when you have a regular, parenting type situation. But then when you're dating a single parent, trust me, that phrase, my child always comes first, or my children always come first, it is like a golden rule. Okay, now you might have a little bit of difficulty adjusting to that. If you're someone who's dating a single parent and you are a little bit needy, maybe you probably went through like the most stressful day and you come back home and just want to unload on your partner, and you just realize that there's not enough time because the child always comes first. I mean, picture dating a single dad who actually is 100% invested in raising his child, boy or girl. So you meet dads like that who probably give their children a bath, they're with them, they're doing homework, and then especially if you have younger kids, or rather if you're dating a single parent that has younger kids, there's always that tendency, like child is always so all about his dad or his mom, or her dad or her mom, and you just realize that you may not get that kind of leeway, so to speak. All right. So in Isabel's case, she said it took her some time to learn that no matter what she was going through, no matter her issues, maybe like drama at work with her friends and all that, they were never going to take precedence over issues involving Eric's son, right? And it wasn't long before she realized she probably needed someone who had the bandwidth to give her a bit more support. Now, does that make you a bad person? Wanting to be able to spend more time with the person you're dating? No, it does not. I think this just goes to show that it requires maybe just a little bit more would I call it tolerance now or perseverance, especially when you're dating a single parent. Now again, I must stress that this is particularly the case when the children are much younger. Of course, as they get older, if you happen to date single parents who have older kids, you may not necessarily experience it the way Isabel did, but it's just good to be prepared, okay? Now, another point that she raised, and this one had me laughing. So, say you ended up dating a single parent, and as one is prone to do when you're really, really about the person that you're dating and you love the person, and the person has a child. Truth is, if you love that person, you will find that in most ideal cases, let me qualify that, you would most definitely love the child as well. Okay? And then, you find out that you start filling that role, it just comes naturally to you wanting to nurture that child and all of that. So if for any reason that relationship will not work out, it's kind of like breaking up with two people, or depending on how many children the person that you're with has. So you find that you have to break up with. It's like breaking up with all of them. I know, right? Okay. In my instance, I've never really say had the kind of relationship that I had to like break up with the person. Like things either never really got so serious with me. I don't know if it was my defense mechanism, but I've not experienced this. Okay, so I've not had a situation where I was dating somebody and then we had to call it off, and then it I saw how it affected the person. Where I'm concerned is really no biggie, but where my son is concerned, you might find out that it's a bit difficult, even for you, even if you were the reason, or you were the one who called it off with the person that you're dating. I'm saying now, me as a single parent, even if I was the one who called it off with the person that I was dating, if my son had formed any kind of bond with that person, then it sort of like changes the dynamic in the sense that even though I don't want to still have anything to do with the person, I don't want to deprive my son, sort of like, from whatever friendship had been formed and all that. But I have not experienced it, like I said, so I'm just going to put a pause on that one there. And maybe if any of you single parents listening to this have experienced that, you can send me a message and let me know what was it like for you, when you were dating someone and something happened and the relationship had to come to an end. Okay, so it's two ways now, right? So send me a message, please, if you were the single parent and you broke up with the person and the person had formed a bond with your child, or if you were the one dating the single parent, please, how did that go for you? But in Isabel's case, she said when she fell in love with Eric, she felt hard also for his son. And of course, we already said that these two people go hand in hand, right? The parent and the child, the children. So she got so used to waking up, with them, playing with the child. She said some of her fondest memories from the relationship were the time she spent with the son. But then when you break up with a person, it hits you that they are not your child. So regardless of how much you spend with them, which for Isabel was, according to what she said, it was more than she should have. When you break up with the parent, you also break up with the child, and it is very, very, very difficult. Okay, so this is from Isabel. This is her own experience, and her advice there was, if you're going to date a single parent, buckle up for a way messier breakup. Okay, so this is me reading from the experience of someone who dated a single parent. I should probably do another episode with people who are single parents who have dated other people and the things that you need to know as a single parent when you're dating other people. Definitely going to look into that one. But then here's another point from Isabel. Okay, so she says, while she was pretty confident in her kids' skills before she started dating Eric, in that she used to babysit and she worked with children for years, she said she quickly realized she didn't actually know anything about what it took to be a parent. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. So what she's saying is, you can spend your entire life around children, working with children, doesn't mean that you know what it actually takes to be a parent. Eureka. Let's think about that one very well. because I think this also applies to mothers. So just because you gave birth to a child, does that mean you know what it takes to be a parent? That's a discussion for another day. Anyway, so her example was that one day his son was ill, and young children, sometimes you just never know what's going on with them. They could just have something going on and they're crying and crying, and you don't know what to do about it. So in this case, she said the only time his son felt okay was when she held him. Okay, um, and this also included while he was taking a bath. So even while she was giving him a bath, if he didn't hold me, he would just keep crying and crying and crying, and she was just like befuddled and like, oh my god, what to do? And then Eric, who she was dating, got into the shower in his clothes and just held his son, and that was it. Like, literally stayed with him all day, despite the fact that he had other things that he needed to do. But his son was sick, so there he stayed. And she couldn't necessarily relate, I think, because again, it's like she said, just because you spend years working around children, working with children, doesn't necessarily mean you know what it means to be a parent. So that was just one key example there to that. So there it is. You might love kids. I hear a lot of guys say, oh my god, I love kids. Oh my god, I love kids. It's like one of those lines that they throw out there when they realize you're a single parent. Oh my god, how old is your son? Oh my god, what's his name? Oh my god, let me see his picture. And then you can see that they're actually truly, genuinely excited about meeting your kid. And then they meet him and then they spend time with him. I'm using my son, of course, as the example. And then they spend time with him, and it's really, really cool. They form this bond, they have this romance going on, and it's really nice. But then when the chips are down, when you have an 11-year-old or you have a preteen who is just moody sometimes, and you're trying to have a conversation with the person, you can't have a conversation, you're trying to have a conversation with the child, and you're just not getting through. Will you lose it? Will you flip? I read another article that says, one of the things to note when you're dating a single parent is leave the disciplining 100%, disciplining the child 100% to the parent. Don't even try. Don't even get in there at all. And this is probably one of the reasons why, because as much as you love the kid, as much as you spend time and you buy him stuff and you guys gist and you talk and all of that, does that necessarily mean that you understand what it is, to be a parent to that child? So yeah. I mean, I hold back from disciplining my friends' children, like my really, really cool friends. I hold back from disciplining their children, but some people I know, maybe by virtue of the fact that, like I said, they feel like they're good with kids, they know how to handle them, they know how to sit there and then they sit down, and then they take it the extra mile and they try and do all of that. But personally for me, I'd rather you left disciplining to me. Now there is one exception, and that exception is when you are directly asked for help from parents. But don't take it upon yourself, okay? Some women, when you're dating single dads, that you feel like you spent maybe a good number of quality time with the child or the children of the person you're dating, and you feel like, yeah, okay, nah, you're gotten on my last nerve. Just get out or go do something or go to your room, or better, or even worse still, they take a whip to the child, and all of that. I think for some reason something in me will just stare up. Like, okay, he was naughty, but yeah, so I'm laughing at myself just thinking about it, because is that the right thing to do? Probably not. But again, the only exception, the only time, if you're dating a single parent, that you should, do that and discipline the child is when you have been asked to do so. But I think there's just something territorial about single parents and their children being disciplined by other people. For some reason, I think generally just stirs something up, and then you realize that there's some resentment that starts to settle from there. Yeah, you probably have a way of figuring it out with the person that you're dating, but yeah, please you should probably shouldn't do that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So the fifth lesson that Isabel wrote about was um, when you're with someone. Um, okay, so she goes a few months into the relationship. She had a particularly stressful day at work, and there was nothing she wanted more than to curl up on the couch with her boyfriend and watch TV. But it was his only night off without work or his son, and he just didn't have it in him to spend it with anyone but himself. Mm. Okay, so for all you single parents out there, some of you can probably relate to this, you know, and it can be a problem if the person who you're in a relationship with has a certain type of attachment style. Sometimes it's just like I said in the earlier example when I was talking about priorities and you not coming first. Sometimes you don't even come second because after the parent has had to spend time with their child, sometimes they need their own alone time, right? Right? Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like this. Okay. I find that especially during this period where we've been at home because of COVID-19, so I don't get any time, barely get any time away from my son. I mean, he's my only, yeah, he's my only. And where we stay with my parents, there are no younger ones, no kids his age that he can play with. And, I don't have lots of friends who have kids that he can play with as well. So it's not like we have a chance to get away from each other. Not that he wants to get away from me. But then here's the thing, is that sometimes when I get the chance, I'm like, okay, sometimes I just want to lay down and just not do anything but be with myself. So I imagine dating some guy who has certain type of attachment style. He might take it personally when he wants to be with me and I just need to be with myself. Now here's the thing. I don't think what I'm explaining right now is peculiar to single parent relationships. I think lots of people get this way sometimes. It may not even be that your child's the one taking up your time. Sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's, I don't know, it could be anything. And then you want to be by yourself at a certain time of the day. That's the time when your partner then wants to do FaceTiming or wants to come on WhatsApp and do a video call and stuff like that. It can be a bit challenging. So the lesson here is needing alone time takes on a whole new meaning because it's their son first or their child first, and then it's them second, and then you, in some cases, come third. Now it's not such a bad thing, I promise you. Did I just say that? Okay, let's flip it. Let's say I'm the one in this situation. Will I actually have just said what I said right now? So I guess the key here is understanding your type of person when it comes to relationships and just basically figuring out if you will be able to be okay with this kind of situation. So when your partner, who's a single parent, needs their own time. So you need to know that you're okay with contending with father and son time if you're a female and you're dating a single dad, or if you're a guy and you're dating a single mom, you need to be able to contend with mother and daughter time, or whatever the case may be. God help you with children, because then you're like fourth or fifth on the line because each child is peculiar and stuff like that. I also stress again, this usually applies to the younger kids, so don't be scared. Like, don't go running for the hills just yet. Calm down, breathe. You'll be fine. Okay, so you just need to know that you'll be able to contend with that. And if you're not that kind of person, if you're the kind of person that when you want to be with your partner, you want to be with your partner, you don't want to hear any excuses, then just maybe, depending on the situation of the single parent that you meet, depending on the situation of the single parent that you meet, this might not just be for you. But I mean, it's totally worth a look. Take a look at it. Make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, and then by all means, dive in. Now, having said all of these things that may sound scary to some people, if you have gone through this list with me and all of the things I've mentioned, and like, okay, yes, so what did you just say? Then please ignore every single thing that I said. Or maybe not every single thing, but dive in head first, your whole body, put your whole self, your whole mind into it, and I'm sure it's going to work out for you. Like I said, I'm definitely going to do an episode where it's the flip side. Okay, so this was for people who are interested in dating single parents and things that you need to know. I am definitely going to do the flip side, probably in the next episode or sometime soon, where we're talking about people, or rather single parents, who are dating or who are trying to date other people and what they should look out for. Okay, all right. So this is the end of today's episode. Remember, you can always send in your comments and your questions. You can totally send me a voice note. Ah, God, the modalities of that. But yeah, I'm going to put out the link to all of my listeners as much as possible, where you can send in a voice note where I can incorporate into the podcast. Or you could always just send me a message. Go to sharecast@gmail.com. That's THERCSCS@gmail.com. Or send me a message on Decoupled with Cheryl. I'm on all the platforms, and I will definitely get back to you on anything that you might have to share with us. Alright, until then, remember, crooked sticks draw straight lines too. Bye-bye.